Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On the News Hour tonight, Niger junta threatens to eliminate Bazoum over planned military intervention by ECOWAS. 4 worshippers dead, 7 injured as Zaria Central Mosque collapses. Troops kill 2 Boko Haram fighters, recover weapons in Borno. And on the foreign scene, South Africa's former president Jacob Zuma briefly taken to prison, then released on remission. Good evening and thank you very much for joining us on the News Hour. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Now, the decision of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to deploy troops to Niger Republic should not be seen as a regional body moving against a country or as the decision of a single individual. Well, this is according to the president of the ECOWAS Commission, Omar Aliou Toure, who says it should be seen as a resolve by West African leaders to uphold agreements of all member countries. Kehinde Amodu reports.
By directing its Committee of Chiefs of Defense Staff to activate its standby force and deploy to Niger, ECOWAS has not declared war on its member state. The president of the ECOWAS Commission explains that the option of peace remains very much on the table.
ECOWAS has been engaged in peaceful and diplomatic efforts to effect the restoration of constitutional order in Niger, and the communique has made it very clear the authority has kept that window open.
But it seems the consensus among West African leaders is that the military junta in Niger should be eased out.
We do not accept, we will not accept coup d'etats. And I think these putschists must go. If I don't let Bazoum out to be able to exercise his mandate, I think we should move ahead and get them out. Bazoum is a democratically elected president. He should be freed. He should be able to exercise his mandate freely.
The ECOWAS decision is also not being driven by a single country, but is a collective agenda of leaders of the regional bloc.
So this is a regional initiative. It's not an individual country going after another country, or a community going after, or the community going against citizens of the community. Nigerians are ECOWAS citizens, and I think it is important we all recall that before the attempted coup, nobody imposed sanctions on Niger.
I want to insist, this is not a Nigerian affair. It's an affair of ECOWAS. ECOWAS is nearly 400 million people, 240 million in Nigeria, 140 million in the West African Monetary Union. So this is 400 million people. If we don't have democracy, do you think that our countries will be able to move ahead? This coup d'etat is not acceptable. We should put an end to it.
The outcome of the extraordinary summit in Abuja has sent reverberations across the region. All eyes are on ECOWAS to see if it will follow the path of diplomacy and peace, or if, at the last resort, it will be forced to roll out the tanks. From the federal capital, Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
Well, in response to this development, Niger's military junta has threatened to eliminate ousted President Mohamed Bazoum if ECOWAS acts on its planned military intervention in the country. According to a report by the Associated Press on Thursday, 2 Western officials say the putschist issued the threat while speaking to a top U.S. diplomat. This came shortly before the Economic Community of West African States said it had directed the deployment of a standby force to restore democracy in Niger Republic after its deadline of Sunday to restore Bazoum's government expired. The threat to the deposed president raises the stakes both for ECOWAS and for the military junta, which has shown its willingness to escalate its actions since it seized power in July. Now, Niger was seen as the last country in the Sahel region of the Sahara Desert that Western nations could partner with to counter jihadi violence linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group that has killed thousands and displaced millions of people across the region. Now, residents of Jos, the Plateau State capital, are expressing divergent views over the proposed use of force to restore democratic government in Niger Republic if the military junta refuses to return power to the country's democratically elected president. Now, this is coming on the heels of the commitment by ECOWAS to reinstate ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. Adu Musa reports from Jos.
In what seems to be a defiance to calls by ECOWAS to restore power to the overthrown president of Niger, the military leaders in the country have since formed a new government made of 21 ministers. Residents in Jos are expressing divergent views over the refusal of the military government in the country to hand over power to Bazoum. While some are of the opinion that ECOWAS should continue dialogue with the military leaders, others are saying the use of force is the better option.
Our president, that is Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I believe that the man has a means and a way of bringing out solution to this problem. But using force, no, because we already have a lot of problems in Nigeria. So adding this to our list of problems will not be nice to us.
When you look at how the people of Niger Republic are celebrating because of this, you will understand that many of them are going through a very hard period. So they think that it will be better for them to have a military government than a democratic government.
I am of the opinion that ECOWAS should use force to restore democratic government in Niger, because what the military leaders did is of no good for African countries. Let ECOWAS use troops to deal with these military leaders. ECOWAS had, after its meeting on Thursday in Abuja, decided to continue to engage with the military leaders in the country. But people are asking, what next line of action could ECOWAS take if the military insists on holding on to power? Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Now in Kaduna, 4 worshippers died and 7 others were injured as some residents of Zaria Central Mosque collapsed on Friday. Confirming the incident, the Emir of Zazzau, Ahmed Nuh Bamali, said the victims were observing the Asr prayer when the incident happened. A crack on the wall of the mosque was detected on Thursday and the mosque was scheduled for repairs when the incident happened. While condoling with the families of the deceased, the Emir directed that people should pray outside the mosque vicinity pending when repairs are done. Right, now let's move on to some of the day's other news stories. The Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service says it has put out a fire outbreak at a construction site in the Ibeju-Lekki area of Lagos State in the early hours of Friday. The director of the service, Margaret Adeshe, in a statement says the fire broke out at the Craneburg construction site, Old Julius Berger Yard. Adeshe says the fire, which involves sets of containers used as storage facilities, has been curtailed from spreading by the fire crew of the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Services. Still staying with developments in Lagos, the Lagos State Fire Service and Rescue Operations says it has rescued 2 men whose canoe capsized into the Atlantic Ocean. The incident occurred on Friday morning, according to a statement released by the director of the service, Margaret Adeshe. Adeshe says that the operatives were immediately deployed to the Oba Oniru fire station, who worked in tandem with other state service responders and a private boat crew. Both victims are said to be in stable conditions after the rescue. Now to Borno State now. The Governor of Maiduguri State, of Borno, I beg your pardon, Professor Babagana Zulum, has assured that all security challenges will be adequately mitigated before the end of his 2nd term in office. He stated this during the official inauguration of his cabinet and other political appointments at the government house in Maiduguri. 17 commissioners, 3 advisors, and a permanent secretary took oath of office.
All the promises that have been made to the good people of Borno State, inshallah, shall be fulfilled. We shall ensure potable water supply within metropolitan and all other local government areas. Ensure that we provide the needed manpower required at our primary healthcare centers and our hospitals. Ensure that we have availability of drugs and consumables in our hospitals and primary healthcare centers, inshallah. Address the annual flooding problems in our state. Ensure agricultural development, and ensure that palliative is being given to the less privileged in the state. Government will very soon procure more buses in order to alleviate the sufferings of the people as a result of the removal of fuel subsidy. Very soon we shall procure more buses, and civil servants will also be supported.
In other news, the Nigerian Army says troops of a Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai have killed 2 suspected Boko Haram terrorists crossing point along Kuka in Konduga local government area of Borno State. The Director, Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Onyema Nwachuku, said in a statement on Friday that troops recovered 63 rounds of 12.7 millimeter ammunition, 1 improvised explosive device shell, among others. He added that due to the aggressive operations of troops against Boko Haram terrorist enclaves, a terrorist commander surrendered to the troops of 222 Battalion at Gezua in Konduga local government area. He said items recovered from the suspect include 1 AK-47 rifle, 1 magazine, and 26 rounds of 7.6 millimeter special ammunition, adding that the suspect is currently undergoing profiling for further necessary actions. Now, the police in Enugu State on Thursday neutralized 3 gunmen while others escaped with several bullet wounds after a gun duel with hoodlums in Imufu community of Igbo Eze North local government area of the state. Now, the State Police Public Relations Officer, DSP Daniel Nduke, disclosed this in a statement on Friday in Enugu. He said that items recovered from the hoodlums include 4 pump action guns, 1 locally fabricated revolver, and a pistol, each with 67 live cartridges, military camouflage uniforms, suspected fabrics of IPOB insignia, objects suspected to be amulets, among others. The police spokesperson noted that the state's Commissioner of Police, Ahmed Amani, has reaffirmed the unwavering commitment of the police to weed out unrepentant criminals in the state. Now, just in, the Nigeria Association of Resident Doctors will resume work on Saturday after the association suspended its nationwide strike action. The association's national president, Innocent Oji, confirmed the development on Friday evening, just hours ago. We'll have more details as soon as we get them. Right, you're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Still to come, we take a look at the plight of university students over rising cost of fees. Details coming up ahead after the break. Welcome back and thank you very much for staying with us on the News Hour. Here's a quick recap of our top stories at this hour. Niger military junta threatens to eliminate Bazoum over planned military intervention by ECOWAS. 4 worshippers reported dead as 7 are injured in Zaria Central Mosque collapse. Now, the Lagos State Police Command has rescued 9 children aged between 9 and 14 on the verge of being initiated into a cult. Now, the State Police Public Relations Officer Benjamin Hundeyi, who confirmed the rescue in a statement on Thursday, highlighted the disturbing details surrounding the children's ordeal. The children, whose identities have been withheld for their safety, were discovered during or after the initiation process, according to the police spokesperson. Hundeyi, however, did not provide any further details regarding the operation itself by the police, but confirms that an investigation is underway. Now to Adamawa State, where the family of a 17-year-old senior secondary school student in Yola, Abdullahi Tukur Abba, who was allegedly tortured to death by security personnel, are calling for justice. Silas Lawan reports that the deceased was falsely accused of stealing a mobile phone belonging to a neighbor in the area. His report.
The final year secondary school student was said to have been arrested on the orders of one Shaibu Wambanzomo by men of Operation Farauta to an unknown destination. They later brought him back to his parents' house in handcuffs to search for the missing phone he was tortured for. It was reported that the boy had lied of stealing the phone to spare his life. His aunt said while search for phone was progressing, Abdullah collapsed, started vomiting blood and was unconscious. He was rushed to the hospital and admitted at intensive care unit where he died 4 days later.
The justice.
We need nothing but justice to our late son, Abdallah. He was never accused of any bad thing. Abdallah was very humble and always innocent. We need justice to our son.
Abdallah, throughout his stay with us as our classmate, we never had anything bad about him. Douglas of stealing a phone. We really miss our friend and we hope justice for him.
Counsel for the family of the deceased, Abubakar Hammanduram, speaks on the case.
As a lawyer and the personalities involved in this matter, it will not be swept under the carpet. I'm certain about that. With the personality of the Commissioner of Police and the Attorney General of the state, with the governor, things will not be swept under the carpet. But however, if this could be done, then the Nigerian legal system is so sophisticated in such a way that there are a variety of ways of accessing justice. So we can adopt another means of achieving justice for Abdullah and his father and his parents.
Meanwhile, Adamawa State Police Command said it has ordered investigation into the matter and anyone found wanting will be made to face the full wrath of the law.
The command went extra mile to arrest its own officers who were in the mix of the Operation Farauta. Virtually, it will interest you to know 2 inspectors and 1 corporal were already apprehended and now they are in police custody. I would like to put it clear that our police, under the able leadership of CP Afolabi Babatola, we are not relenting on our effort in ensuring that justice is given to whosoever that deserves it. Irrespective of who you are, irrespective of what you are, all we know, justice is for all.
Residents of the area are calling on authorities to ensure that justice is served. The family said those responsible for his death must not be allowed to go unpunished. Silas Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
Okay, let's circle back to that development in Zaria around the collapse of the Central Mosque that led to the death of 4 individuals, injuring 7 others. We have on the line Abubakar Bello, to shed more light on this development. Abubakar, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. What can you tell us about how this unfortunate event happened?
Actually, incidents happened this Friday when worshippers were congregating at the Central Mosque in Zaria for the Asr prayer. The Asr prayer is always observed around 4 p.m. daily, and suddenly a building collapsed in the Central Mosque occurred at around that time. During the second rakat of Asri, it has 4 rakat, but during the second rakat, the building collapsed. Meanwhile, a report reaching me indicated that so far about 4 people are reported dead by now, because we have earlier reported that only 4 people lost their life in the afternoon, but a lot of people have been taken with casualties to the hospital. However, by this evening, when the funeral prayers was observed at the Emir's Palace in Zaria, 4 corpses were converged there for the prayers. And after the prayers, 2 more people were reported to have died this evening.
Right. Okay. What can you tell us about the state of the mosque? Because we understand that even the Emir himself acknowledged that there were cracks on the wall. The emirate was looking to work in terms of making some repairs. What can you tell us about what the nature of the building, what shape the building was in before this collapse, and for how long?
Well, actually, you know, the Central Mosque in Zaria is aged over 500. It is built with mud, and of course, is always subjected to repairs. However, some part of the mosques have been modernized, and of course, report when I interviewed some people, an eyewitness indicated that the mosque has started leaking due to heavy rainfall that occurred in Zaria the previous day. And the worshippers had noticed that some of the pillars were leaking, and they even reported some 2 days back to the Emir that there were some leaking. And the Emir had confirmed that he received the report of that damage and was even trying to organize some civil engineers for the repair when this incident occurred this afternoon.
Right. And what can you tell us about how quick emergency response was to the incident? How quick did people get help, especially for those who were saying their prayers at that point?
Honestly, there were prompt response by the rescue mission, especially the fire service, because it occurred in the Emir's Palace, you know. So a lot of rescuers were there, including the military, the police, the fire service, and the other worshippers in the mosque. And you know, the mud is so thick that when it's marched on somebody's body, it's not very easy to dig it out from the rubble. And that is why it took a lot of time to pull out those who lost their life, because they were scattered in various places. And mostly when I interviewed some of the injured at the hospital this afternoon, they indicated that most of those that sustained injury and even death was not as the result of the collapsed building, but as a result of stampede and pandemonium that occurred immediately after the collapse of the building. Some people were pulled down and pushed down, and other people were marching on them, and that's what resulted to many injuries.
Now we can see some of the footages there with regards to the mosque structure itself. How extensive is the damage? Because we understand that the Emirate is shutting down the mosque for the time being, and people are being asked to pray around the vicinity of the mosque instead of using the facility. How extensive is the damage, or is this just a section of the mosque that was affected?
The ancient part of the traditional building where the incidents occurred, and I told you is aged over 500, has a lot of pillars, like 12, a dozen, or even 20 pillars. And this incidents occurred in just 2 or 3 pillars there. So the extent is not that much, but the Emir, I think in his wisdom, decided to take that measure to forestall further occurrence of such, because you cannot predict what will happen, since even now the rainfall is heavily dawning on Zaria. So he is taking that measure as a prevention to further occurrence, and that is why he directed that worshippers should pray outside the mosque pending the repairs of the damage.
Right, Abubakar Bello, thank you very much for the update, and we appreciate you very much for joining us at this hour.
Abubakar Sadiq Mohammed, sorry, Abubakar Sadiq Mohammed. Thank you.
Right. Okay, moving on to some of the day's other news now. Lawyers and civil rights activists are expressing concern over delay in justice administration in Nigeria, which is having a negative impact on the application of the rule of law and efficient justice administration in the country. A cross-section of the legal practitioners, while speaking with Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman, are calling for reforms that will add value to the administration of justice in the country. His report.
There are currently 52,436 inmates awaiting trial in Nigeria. This is in addition to numerous pending civil-related litigations at various courts in the country. Cases take long time to be dispensed with, while some resort to self-help when frustrated by the long delays. Others languish in prisons without justification. Because of this, correctional facilities are overpopulated, with some housing triple times what they were designed to accommodate. Some Nigerians have lost confidence in the judicial system to deliver justice swiftly. What are the factors responsible for the delay in Nigeria's justice system?
Weak implementation of laws within the justice sector. For example, we have the Administration of Criminal Justice law, which many states have actually brought it to bear in their criminal justice system, for example. But you still find situations in which those laws are observed in the breach in terms of the timeline for cases to be tried and dispensed with.
How come you come to Supreme Court, you see cases, 22, 23 cases, and how did you want them to dispense that? At least minimum of, let's put it, even if you are going to make it as short as 30 minutes, 30, 22, that's almost 11 hours. And for them to sit down at that age.
Let's take it from the basis. How many times do you have electricity in your house? Assuming you're a judge or you're a lawyer, without having electricity, it will impact on your output.
There were concerns also on the structure, capacity and the ability of the nation's justice system to guarantee expeditious delivery of justice due to human factor, which slows down the dispensation of justice.
It has to do with the people, because the people that run the system. Anywhere the system is not working, I think one needs to first focus and interrogate what makes the people.
Somebody comes to your office, you have to look at the issue. If it is an issue that you can solve through mediation or arbitration, you can solve it instead of going to court. It doesn't stop you from earning your fees.
Another very worrisome case is the case of awaiting trial inmates, people who are detained in the prison system. They are not given justice on time, and they remain in the prison system, overburdening the system, incurring costs for the country, because those people who are awaiting trial inmates, they feed from the same budgets that you allocate for the prisons.
Legal practitioners say to change the narrative, there is need to overhaul especially the criminal justice sector, embrace alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, provide the needed infrastructure, and limit the number of litigations that require adjudication of the superior courts in order to speed up the process. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
To Adamawa State now, where Governor Fintiri has pledged to punish any member of his executive council engaged in any corrupt practices while serving the state. The governor stated this during the oath-taking ceremony of the newly appointed 23 commissioners in the state, while noting that the assignment before the new commissioners is a call to duty and in service of the people of Adamawa State. Salis Lawan reports from Yola.
Governor Ahmadu Umaru Fintiri said they should abstain from corrupt tendencies and work for the peace and development of the state, saying his new council is tied to value addition. He added that they will be the most watched and scrutinized commissioners in the recent history of Adamawa State, reiterating that the state government is setting up a governance delivery machinery with key performance indicators that will be periodically used.
With some of you who were part of the last council, I must tell you that the new charge is to double every bit of what was deployed in the last administration. Those of you who are coming in fresh, I want to tell you that the stakes now, more than ever before, are higher, and we cannot afford to fail our people.
With the new rules in the discharge of governance in Adamawa, members of the State Executive Council have a huge task ahead of them.
Continuity in every ramification is essential to development and progress. Hence, I'd like to advise and inform the people of Adamawa State to be patient with us as they were in the first 4 years. I mean, clearly the achievements are there to speak for themselves. I don't think any government, right from Gongola time till this day, has performed or has achieved as much as the government of His Excellency Right Honorable Ahmadu Umaru Fintiri has achieved.
On behalf of my colleagues, we assure you of working with you in trust and with the fear of Allah to see that we end the delivery of democracy dividends to the good people of Adamawa as contained in your campaign promises across the 226 wards in the state.
Government is not an easy thing the way people think. It is when you go in there, you will see the real position of the governance. But the problem we are having is people are eager to accumulate wealth. Please, my dear commissioners, don't think of that one, that accumulation, that finance, don't think. But put the state in mind and Nigeria in general.
6 out of the 24 are returning commissioners. Salis Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
Now, in Osun State, the police command has arrested some police officers for allegedly extorting some youths in the state. The policemen at a roadblock along Ile-Ogbo axis were said to have extorted some youths on transit by forcing them to make cash transfers to avoid detention. It was learned that after paying the police officers, the youths informed a political office holder in the state who demanded justice for the youths. The police public relations officer in the state, Yemisi Opalola, says the policemen involved have been identified, arrested, and are currently undergoing investigation. The police commissioner in the state, CP Kehinde Longe, says he would never condone acts of indiscipline or unprofessional conduct by members of the Nigeria Police in the state. Now, students of the Federal University Gusau are displeased with the 100% increment in the tuition fees across board, saying that the development will likely push many students out of school. Now, the students told Trust TV that they are now to pay between 87,000 and 100,000 naira per session, depending on the faculty and chosen profession. The report.
School fee hike by federal universities, polytechnics and colleges of education has continued to generate concerns among students and parents. The increase is coming at a time when removal of fuel subsidy is causing untold hardship on many. Abubakar Babangida is a 400-level student of political science and president, Faculty of Management and Social Science, Federal University Gusau, said he paid 36,500 naira last academic session, but will now pay 85,000 naira for the new session.
36,500 that we are paying. Some students are struggling to get it, but due to the situation of this country now, the fees has been now increased.
A 200-level student, Abdul Qadir Musa, said he is worried that he will pay 100 and 2,000 naira as tuition fees according to the new academic session.
I'm using this opportunity to call on the federal government, maybe if possible, to look at this matter, maybe to decrease the amount of this money, if possible.
The students added that the increase is capable of aggravating the prevailing security challenges and other forms of crime, urging the federal government to take steps to address hardship that the new tuition fee will inflict on students and parents.
You're still watching the News Hour on Trust TV. We'll be back with more news stories in a moment. Join us again. Welcome back to the news, and thank you very much for staying with us. Now let's circle back to that developing story about the suspension of the indefinite strike action by the Association of Resident Doctors. Now, the president of the association, Dr. Ojiemeka Innocent, told Daily Trust that the decision to suspend the industrial action by the resident doctors was made during the virtual National Executive Council meeting of the association on Friday evening. Now, he said that members of the association will resume work on Saturday, and Dr. Innocent said the association decided to suspend the strike action following moves by the federal government to address the association's demand. He said the presidency and the Nigerian Senate had earlier met with the association during the week. Now, the NARD president said the association observes that the federal government has approved the 2023 Medical Residency Training Fund and also commenced work on the circular 1-for-1 replacement, which the doctors demanded. He said the government has also initiated processes towards paying salary, hazard, and consolidated medical salary structure arrears being owed some of its members. Now, the major demands for which the association went on strike were immediate payment of the 2023 Medical Residency Training Fund, the immediate release of the circular on 141 replacement, the payment of skipping arrears, and upward review of CONMES in line with full salary restoration of the 2014 value of CONMES, which is the salary structure that the resident doctors are advocating for. So this is the latest. The resident doctors have called off their industrial strike action and will be resuming work tomorrow, Saturday. Now, to other news. Some residents of Lagos State have called for accountability from members of the recently inaugurated Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. While reacting to the committee's inauguration by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they maintain that taxpayers will be satisfied with the committee's job if and when they approach their jobs with equity. Here's the report.
For some Nigerians in Lagos, the move to inaugurate the committee is a welcome development, as no country can survive without taxation. However, they are more interested in the utilization of monies recovered from taxpayers. Hence, they urged the government through the committee to be accountable.
Tax is very important in Nigerian society. One, it makes the government work to do infrastructures, which is good. But government has been increasing the tax without any looking at the loopholes, the overtaxation, double taxation. Nothing has been done about it till now. So if forming this committee is a good one that will look into this taxation and also block all the loopholes that taxes are meant to be, so that there will be more money for infrastructure.
The Nigerians are looking for a situation whereby you utilize the money being given to you. Utilize the money being paid by taxpayers. It is not all about just inaugurating committee on tax refund, but what have they used the money for over the years? What has Nigerian government used the money for over the years? And how can they talk about the accountability of the money that has been paid over the years? That's the thing. These are the things we need to look into.
They are also of the opinion that the inauguration is good, as it will block loopholes, stop overtaxation, and pave way for more investors to come in and invest in the country.
The inauguration of the committee is in the right direction, because Nigeria should start looking towards looking away from borrowing to funding our budgets. That's number one. Number two is that Nigeria still has most very unbanked nationals. We have many people that are unbanked that don't use the bank, and with that it's difficult to really trace taxation. Number three is that we have multiple taxation. I'm an employer and I'm an employer, and I understand how at the local government I have to still pay taxes. At the state government I still have to pay taxes. Then because my child wants to do one or two things, I still have to pay my personal income tax. So some of the responsibility of this committee is to look into multiple taxation, which I buy into also.
As for me, let's see how it goes. I pray it works out, because we have been paying tax for long in the country. We have been paying tax since 1960 to date. So I pray it works out for good. We can't predict the future. Only God can predict.
For many, transparency and accountability in Nigeria's tax system, which many do not trust, will encourage others to pay their taxes and contribute to the nation's development.
Right, so let's unpack this a bit further with Dr. Nasir Aminu, an academic at the Cardiff University in the United Kingdom, to help understand what this means for Nigeria's economy going forward. Dr. Nasir, good evening, and thank you very much for joining us at this hour. We appreciate you very much for joining us on the News Hour. First and foremost, your initial thoughts on the objective behind setting up this committee and what you make of it, whether there's an alignment with what Nigeria's economy needs at this time.
Thank you for having me here. As an expert, what I will first of all be thinking of, or what I have been thinking of, is how did President Ahmed Tinubu arrive at that magic number, 18%? Currently, the tax to GDP ratio is 10.9%. So, and it has grown from 5% to 6%. So we can say it is rising. And if you look at the OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development countries, that's about 33 of them. They have an average of 33%, and the European Union has about 26% tax to GDP ratio. Egypt has 5.4% tax to GDP ratio, Morocco about 22%. So we don't know how he arrived at that magic number of 18%. But of course, given the economic situation of Nigeria, we can say macroeconomic factors will play a role here in achieving this policy, because as you know, the headline inflation is rising. We have about 22.8% inflation, and foreign exchange is unfavorable. For currently, business are leaving. Some businesses like GlaxoSmithKline and Dangote Cement are reporting losses. MTN is reported losses, and Airtel and Nestle, they are all reported losses because of foreign exchange. So, looking at this, there are challenges. There are challenges. It is achievable, but it is not going to be. It will be a difficult task to have. To get to look at it or to achieve it.
Right. So 18% tax to GDP in 3 years, in your view, is attainable? To what degree is it attainable, and to what degree is it just wishful thinking, looking at where the global economy is right now and how Nigeria's peculiar economic situation is perhaps going to be pushing back on some of these reforms?
Yeah, it is the global economy is slowing down. If you look at Morocco, it used to have about 25% tax to GDP ratio, but it was declining. America's tax to GDP ratio is declining. United Kingdom, where I live, the tax to GDP ratio is declining. So Tinubu coming in, to say it is going to be, he's going to increase it. There are other things that we should be looking at, and looking at the regional trend that is ongoing. Our trading partners, across the country, with the policies he's implementing of foreign exchange, uniting the exchange rate, and fuel subsidy that is squeezing the economy, choking the economy. Before him, Emefiele had his own kind of economic policy that was anti-growth completely, So coming to say we are going to look at that, I think unless there's something that is not telling us, then it is not a very straightforward situation to achieve.
Right. Dr. Nasir, just in 30 seconds before you go, what does this mean for the business community in Nigeria? What does this mean for Nigerians? And in your view, is this, have some of the policies and some of the reforms that the president has initiated, is it likely going to help Nigeria's economy rebound and perhaps see some growth in the years to come?
Yes, if it is successful, which requires some kind of looking at challenges and paying attention, careful implementation and paying attention to detail, good feedback, working with experts, that have access to the latest data in the world, then Nigerians will see revenue growth. They will see reduced tax evasion and corruption. Nigerians will see increased government services and compliance. Yes, business will grow, and we potentially we can see wealth redistribution. But the committee, one note that we should be looking at is they need to provide a practical solution. Now, the point before I just close, I know two members of the committee. One is the chairman of the ICANN Nigeria, who is busy with his work in just doing another project, and he has 1 month to come up with a plan. And we have a 400 level student, who is busy with her work at university and is being told to do something within 1 month. 1 month is a very, very short window to come up with recommendation. So I don't know, this is an idealistic approach, but we need a pragmatic approach. But the success is there, the potential is there. But is the will there? I can't answer that.
Well, a lot still remains to be seen. The committee in its entirety has 1 year as far as its time frame is concerned. So, as you did say, there's a lot of expectations riding on this committee, and it remains to be seen whether they can deliver on the president's hopes and aspirations. Dr. Nasir Aminu, thank you very much for joining us on the News Hour. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you very much.
Right, now let's take a look at the developments on the international scene, and we head to South Africa as former President of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, on Friday appeared at the Estcourt Correctional Facility before being released under a remission process, according to a senior prisons official. Now, the announcement comes after the Constitutional Court last month rejected an attempt to overturn a decision by the lower court that Zuma's release on medical parole was unlawful and, as such, should return to prison to finish his sentence. Zuma's initial arrest 2 years ago led to violent protests across South Africa that saw over 300 people killed. Zuma, who is 81, was sentenced to 15 months imprisonment for defying a court order to participate in a corruption inquiry into high-level corruption during his 9-year tenure as president of South Africa. He handed himself over to authorities in July of 2021, but was released on medical parole due to ill health 2 months later. He also denies all corruption allegations. Now let's bring you up to date with the latest in sports today.
After a long 8-year pause, major junior event is back on IBA calendar, with the IBA Junior World Boxing Championship scheduled to be in November 2023. Yerevan, Armenia, has been awarded the right to host the event amongst 15 to 16-year-old boxers. The last junior events were held in year 2015, with the men's tournament in St. Petersburg, Russia, and the women's in Chinese Taipei. This time, the joint event will unite young boxers from around the globe in the Armenian's capital to compete in 13 junior men's and 13 women's weight categories. IBA Interim Secretary and CEO Chris Roberts Obe thanked the Boxing Federation of Armenia for their constant support of IBA and expressed confidence in the high-level event organization. Now to Scrabble. Ghana 2024 African Games Scrabble has been confirmed by a local organizing committee of the 2024 African Games as one of the demonstration sports at the games slated to hold in Legon, Ghana. The nod from the LOC to feature Scrabble as a demonstration sport at the African Games came after a last-minute push by the Pan-African Scrabble Association, PANASA, during the Dr. Winifred Owasikin African Youth Scrabble Championship. At Sport News, I am Kabir Lawal.
Well, that's the size of our bulletin at this hour. Thank you most kindly for joining us. We do appreciate you for your time and company. Feel free to follow us across our social media platforms for more content and for more news. Check out our website, trusttv.com. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for watching and good night.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.